Entrepreneurship is one of the most romanticized concepts in modern business culture. We celebrate founders for taking risks, betting on themselves, and grinding nonstop. But we rarely talk about what actually sustains a business once the excitement wears off. I want to talk about some of the common myths about entrepreneurship, not from a motivational angle, but from an operator's perspective, the kind of perspective you develop when mistakes have real consequences for employees, for clients, and for your reputation. Because most people don't fail in business because they're lazy or incapable, they fail because they're operating off of myths. Myth number one, entrepreneurs are risk takers. This is probably the most dangerous myth because people think entrepreneurs are adrenaline-driven risk lovers, people who leap first and figure it out later. That may be true for influencers, but it's not true for sustainable operators. In reality, the best entrepreneurs I know are deeply risk-averse. They just manage risk differently. Here's what risk actually looks like in a real business. Payroll that must clear, clients that depend on delivery, legal, contractual, and reputational exposure. When you're responsible for others, risk stops being romantic. So here's how I evaluate risk now, and this is something you could apply immediately. Before making a decision, I ask these three questions. What happens if these fail? How quickly can I recover? And who absorbs the impact if I'm wrong? If you can't answer those clearly, you're not taking a calculated risk, you're outsourcing consequences to the future. This is where many founders get stuck. They think that they're being bold when in reality they're being vague. So managing risk in this way requires time, clarity, and discipline. Most founders don't lack courage, but they lack bandwidth to slow down and evaluate properly while still running the business. The tension really never goes away. You either build systems for it, or it eventually builds pressure for you. Myth number two is entrepreneurs have to do everything themselves. This myth is subtle, and it sneaks in under the label of work ethic. Early on, I believed that being a good founder meant being the hardest worker, knowing everything, being involved in every decision. And that mindset doesn't create leaders, it creates bottlenecks. If everything runs through you, growth isn't constrained by market demand, it's constrained by your personal capacity. You will literally become a single point of failure. So here's a simple diagnostic you can run on your own business. Ask yourself, what decisions can't happen without me? What processes exist only in my head? What breaks when I step away for a week? Anything that fails the test is not a strength, it's a technical debt. Delegation isn't about trust alone, it's about designing clarity so others can succeed without constant intervention. So building this level of clarity takes intentional effort. This includes documentation, training, oversight, correction. Most founders know that they should do this, but very few have the uninterrupted time to actually build it while delivering for clients. Myth number three is that revenue equals success. Revenue is the most misleading metric in entrepreneurship. It's visible, it's celebrated, it's easy to compare, but revenue without structure is noise. But revenue without structure is just noise. I've seen high revenue businesses collapse because margins were misunderstood, delivery relied on heroics, knowledge wasn't transferable, the business couldn't survive normal disruption. So here's the question that matters more than revenue. Can we deliver this outcome consistently without extraordinary effort? If the answer is no, then growth doesn't create leverage, it creates fragility. So success isn't how big the number is. Success is how repeatable the result is. So repeatability requires three things. One is standardization, two, quality control, and three, ongoing maintenance. This is where many founders feel stuck. They've built something that works, but only when they're personally involved. That's not a failure. It's a transition point most people underestimate. So you need systems. Myth number four is passion is enough. Passion gets a lot of credit in entrepreneurship, and it should. It gets you started, but passion is unreliable under pressure. There's going to be days when motivation is gone, the stress is high, and responsibility outweighs excitement. What carries the business forward on those days isn't passion, it's discipline, structure, and habit. So here's the mindset that changed everything for me. Instead of asking, how do I stay motivated? Ask, what systems move this forward even when I'm not? Motivation fluctuates, systems compound. Designing systems that function without emotional energy is hard work. It requires thinking beyond today's urgency. Most founders don't fail because they lack passion. They fail because everything depends on how they feel that week. Myth number 5 is that entrepreneurs are always confident, and confidence is often misunderstood. Most real confidence is retrospective. It shows up after preparation, repetition, and failure. I've made decisions without certainty. I've walked into rooms with lots of doubt. I've carried responsibility even when outcomes weren't guaranteed. Confidence didn't come first, competence did. So here's what I've learned. Confidence is usually the byproduct of pattern recognition, scenario planning, and accepting accountability. You don't need certainty to move forward. You need readiness. Readiness isn't just a mindset, it's infrastructure. So when preparation lives only in your head, confidence collapses under stress. When preparation is shared and documented, confidence becomes durable. So make sure that you have your standard operating procedures written out for your team. Entrepreneurship isn't about bravado. It's not about grinding harder. It's definitely not about chasing every opportunity. It's about building something that survives scrutiny, scales beyond you, and functions even when things go wrong. Most people don't struggle because they don't understand these myths. They struggle because correcting them takes sustained execution while the business is already in motion. Think about flying a plane while you're building it at the same time. That's the part that no one glamorizes. And that's where the real work begins. So building once is optional, maintaining it is not. And knowing this is easy, executing it consistently is the hard part. I talk about entrepreneurship from the operator seat, not the highlight reel. If that's useful to you, follow for more.